Welcome, everyone, and thank you very much once again for your time and presence. It is a privilege to have you all today. My name is Zishan. I take care of digital marketing here at Utunga. This webinar, of course, marks the climax of our journey. We started about 2.5 months ago, just when about COVID-19 was started. Today is the sixth and the last webinar of this OPCUA Inside Out series. We have received so many inputs and feedbacks from all of you. We are actually in the process of defining a webinar calendar on the topics you have suggested. Stay tuned, we'll be updating you shortly. In case you have missed any of the earlier webinar of this OPCUI Inside Out webinar series, I would like to have a recap. All the recordings are uploaded in our YouTube channel. Simply search for Uttunga in the YouTube search bar, and the first link you see is us. Today's webinar is on understanding the OPCUA role of OPCUA in brownfield and greenfield installations. It certainly will not be interesting for you if we will talk about the brownfield installation with a plain theory. For that, our speakers will start off with an actual use case to walk you through the challenges in brownfield and how OPC can be helpful. You'll also get a perspective on greenfield. Before we get started, I would like to take a couple of minutes to introduce Utunga. Next slide. We are a product engineering and industrial solution company. For over 13 years, we have partnered closely with industrial OEMs to build products and solutions from concept all the way through the lifecycle of the product. Our engineers have added digital layers to mechanical, non-mechanical field devices, built configuration and calibration softwares, highly sophisticated data integration, visualization, and analytics solutions, provided consultation and services on industrial security and quality engineering. We offer services in application development, embedded services, IIoT, and verification and validation. Our services are targeted to OEMs and end industries in process, factory, power domains. Next slide, please. These are the few industrial consortiums we closely work with on connectivity and protocols. Field asset connectivity is the foundation for Industry 4.0, and that's also how we started as a company about 13 years ago. That is connecting field devices, assets to hardware and software systems up the value chain. Our association with these consortiums, and importantly, the OPC Foundation, is rooted in our commitment to help our customers build the industrial systems. Next slide. With that, I would like to introduce the speakers for today. Smita Rao. Smita Rao is an OPC expert specializing in OPC, UA, and device integration technologies. She has over 15 years of experience in engineering and software development with proficiency in OPC, FDT, FDI, and Ethernet IP. She is also co-founder of Utunga and guides internal products and business roadmaps. She also spends a lot of time representing Utunga in various industrial consortiums. Next slide, please. Rushindra Babu, fondly referred as Rushi inside Utunga, is a CTO of Utunga and responsible for end-to-end product and solution development. He leads the company's R&D initiatives as well. Rushi is passionate about building teams to deliver high world-class solutions, and he has led in building products solutions in areas of life sciences, power, automotive, and industrial automation. Just before we start, a quick point on housekeeping sessions. The duration of the webinar is 60 minutes. We will utilize the last 10 minutes for Q&A segment. Please send in your questions using Q&A icon on your left hand of your screen. The presentation slides and the link of the recorded webinar will be emailed to you post the webinar. Request you to click on full screen icon on the left hand side of your screen to get a good view of the slides. Before I hand it over to the first speaker, Smita, I would like to have a quick poll for 30 seconds. Request the attendees to please provide your answers. So majority of people have voted yes. The question is, do you think OPC UA is a right fit to resolve your data integration needs? And majority people have selected yes. Thank you for the poll. Thank you for your answers. Now, without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Smita.
Thank you, Zishan. Glad to have you all here for this webinar. I'm Smita Rao, and I'll be talking about OPC UA from brownfield perspective in this webinar. For this webinar, we have taken an automotive equipment plant in southern part of India. We got an opportunity to provide the network diagnostic and remote monitoring solutions for this plant, and we have taken this specific use cases and extrapolated that information to best suit this webinar. So next slide. As you can see here, there are various assembly lines connecting 10 to 15 PLCs in each assembly lines from different vendors. And we also have robots, injection molding machines, and some of these PLCs are connected to various edge gateways from different vendors, and they are also connected to IoT platform. It will be a typical automotive plant, basically automotive equipment manufacturing plant, and all of our webinar in the brownfield projects will be taking this use case, and we will be talking more about that. Next slide, please. So main project goal for this webinar would be to have a vertical integration which allows us to connect all the assembly lines and send it to the IoT platform. So for this webinar, we have defined the 4 goals, and I'll be talking about the importance of OPC UA in achieving these goals. So first one is the vertical integrations, which is very important across the value chain. And apart from the vertical integrations, there are also third-party solutions that we saw in the injection molding areas. And it is necessary to have a data harmonized from these third-party IoT solutions and also from the PLCs from different makes for further processing. So the data harmonization is also an equally important area which we need to think, and OPC plays a very key role there. We will also be talking about efficient data transmissions. When I say efficient data transmission, it talks about improving the data quality for a better decision making and maximizing the transmission efficiency. So there are 2 aspects that we will be covering in this webinar. And so no compromise on the security is very important, because being IoT, it is very important to have a security perspective, and that also will be covered in this webinar. Next slide, please. So our first goal is to have a vertical integration of the data from PLC, robots, etc. to the higher value system. To start with, let's take a PLC from various vendors. As you can see that there were PLCs from, to name it a few, there were PLCs from Mitsubishi, Siemens, supporting multiple communication channels. And in order to get the data from all these PLCs, either we need to upgrade the PLCs to OPC UA enabled PLC, which is some of them are already there. If not, there is a quick solution where we can bring all these PLC data to a common communication standard like Modbus RTU or TCP, and then use the protocol converter, which is a quick fix. But if we use the OPC, the task becomes much easier for maintenance. And also, in case if you want to replace the PLC or add a new ones in future, this will be the best possible solutions. Luckily, most of the robots comes up with the OPC UA support, so which is good. We also have a third-party IoT solutions implemented in injection molding area, but these IoT solutions exposed the information via REST API and OPC, and hence the data integration from this was pretty easy. But if you look into that, here the edge gateway, which can be a retrofit for having a vertical integration in the brownfield, will play a major key role. We will be talking more about this in our next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. As you can see here, the edge device with OPC UA, which can be at both downlink and uplink layer, are the most efficient solution for vertical integration in the brownfield project, because this can be retrofitted without disturbing the existing process. When I say edge device, it can be industrial PC, it can be a virtual machine or a dedicated gateway custom built for your specific reasons. So it is not necessary that edge device has to have all this functionality that is depicted in this picture. We will take one by one. It can be a permutation and combination of this functionality, and based on your specific need, you have to choose the right edge gateway. So now let's take an example of a PLC which is not supporting OPC UA and it is supporting the vertical integrations. So we have a PLC supporting the proprietary communication standard, and edge device can actually map this to an OPC UA server. We also have a OPC Classic server in the field. So OPC Classic server was there since 1996. And there are many plants still using OPC Classic server, which uses COM-DCOM technology. And maintaining this OPC Classic server is painful. So we can have an edge device which tunnels the data from DA to UA server, and then that can be used. And there are already many robots and PLCs supporting OPC UA server. Then why do we need to aggregate this server? Is it why? Because anyway, you are exposing the data via OPC UA server, then why do you need to aggregate it? But if you aggregate it, it will actually help you, because if you aggregate the server, OPC UA server, using your edge gateway, then you are reducing the exposure of a firewall port, which is required to connect to any OPC UA server. So this improves the security. This also helps in transferring the data much easily between IT network and OT network over the firewall. So in this way, edge gate, so you can choose the edge gateway based on your specific need. And this is how, by having OPC UA, will help you to achieve that. Next slide, please. So in summary, so OPC enables seamless integration of the data from PLC to the enterprise level. But if you see, OPC can stay in any layer. It can be there at the field device layer. It can be there at the edge gateway level. It can be there at the IoT level. So, but the thing is, if as much as it is at the bottom of the pyramid, it is much more easy from your future state perspective, because you are bringing the standardization at the grassroots level. However, we all know that there are not already all the field devices or assets and sensors that we have in the market as OPC enabled at the field device layer. So your decision is based on availability of these devices in the market, and also looking at your technical requirement, how you want to achieve it. But if you look at these guidelines and then follow, then your vertical integration of this would be easy. Now, in our next slide, we will be moving on to the achieving the goal for the second goal, which is data harmonization. Next slide, please. So in our previous slide, we have learned about how seamlessly we can transfer the data, right? So OPC UA helps in transferring the data much more seamlessly. But does that mean that OPC is just about data transmission? No, OPC is much beyond that. OPC not only transfers the data, but also allows us to describe the semantic information about the data. Okay, from the plant for perspective, how it is going to help me. I don't understand what is semantic information in the data. That I'll be explaining in the next few slides. So let's take an example of a robot. So as we all know, robot has a specific attributes like its axis, its position, its manufacturer information like serial number, basically the identification information. Robots uses this robotic specific information model in its OPC UA server, which can be used to expose the data to an upper line, higher level systems. So we will learn more about importance of this information model in the brownfield projects in the next slide. Next slide, please. So as you see, this is like OPC UA information model is actually in a more simplified way, it is categorized into three different things. One is base OPC UA information model, which is defined in the OPC UA core specifications document, which is like the base of any information model that you are going to develop. The information model actually helps you to describe your attributes of your asset. So if you see, there are companion information model helps us to describe the information from the domain perspective. The companion specification usually will be created by the domain expert, and OPC Foundation has collaborated with more than 25 standard organizations to come up with this companion specifications document. And if you see, look at there, it is not only limited to the specific industry, we have a companion specification even for a commercial kitchen equipment. So you can come up with your own companion specification document collaborated with the OPC Foundation, maybe for a smart city project or a water distribution management, where you can try to describe your domain using the OPC UA information model. On top of this, you can have a vendor-specific information model to satisfy your product-specific needs. We will take an example and explain that in more detail in our next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. So let's take an example of a robot. So where robot from a vendor A, which has a OPC UA server enabled, and it exposes the robotics information model. And then you have a vendor B, and it is more sophisticated one, and it supports something called fault recovery mode. So in this case, the robotics OPC UA server from vendor B extends the information model to support this fault recovery mode. Now if you see from the OPC UA client, which can be your HMI applications or a edge gateway or IoT platform, your OPC UA client can fetch the information from all of these robots from different vendors easily without any issues. But if these OPC UA client understands the vendor specific information, then it knows how to use this fault recovery mode in a much more effective way. So if you look at that, then OPC UA provides a generic solution to connect with all these assets, irrespective of their make, irrespective of their types and the communications channels that they support. On the other hand, it also enables more sophisticated way to expose the information based on your specific need. So this is where the beauty of the OPC UA comes. So in this way, the data harmonization actually provided by OPC UA actually helps in bringing more productivity in terms of brownfield projects. Next slide, please. So now efficient data transmissions. So as I said earlier, this is segregated into two parts. One is improving the data quality in the value chain for better decision making. As you can see, the data volume produced at the bottom of layer of the automation pyramid is very high. So each PLC will be sharing so much of an information. And as we move up the ladder, it is very important for us to reduce the data volume, but increase the data, the importance of this data for the decision making. So this is where it can be achieved by having an edge analytics, where that OPC UA enabled edge device can choose what information that it wants to expose to the next layer. And more intelligence at the bottom of the pyramid, then it will be easy for you for further improvement of your plant. As much as you bring the intelligence to the down layer, it becomes much more easier for your brownfield plant. So next slide, please. So in order to improve the data efficiency, let's take an example of 3 robots in an assembly line, which exposes the data via OPC UA server. So now the edge device has to maintain 3 client sessions to manage these 3 OPC UA server instances, right? So, and it is the responsibility of this edge gateway to pull the information from these robots. This requires it to have the complete knowledge about these OPC UA servers. So it should know what information to pull it from these OPC UA servers. So the intelligence lies in the edge gateway. As we add more robots to these assembly lines, then this becomes more resource intensive and the solution becomes non-scalable. So the OPC Foundation recognized this and came up with the OPC PubSub mechanism. Here the same scenario where we can see on the right side, the robots which exposes the OPC UA server also has a small module called OPC Publisher module, which pushes the data to the middleware or broker. So if you see here, it is not OPC Publisher module is not a replacement to your OPC UA server. Instead, it is an extra fitting to your OPC UA server for the specific purposes. So robots can continue to expose this complete OPC UA server information model that it is doing to the other clients like HMI applications or ERP systems, or to even dump the data to a historian. But the relevant information which is required for for the better decision making can be used by using the OPC PubSub module, where it can publish the data to the middleware broker for further processing. So as we have actually talked about the difference between client server model and the publisher server PubSub mechanism in our previous webinar, the publisher's lifetime need not be same as subscriber's lifespan. That means that publisher can just push the data and then go hibernate itself, whereas the subscriber can take the important topic that it is interested from multiple publishers and use it for its purpose. This is easily upgradable and a scalable solutions. So OPC PubSub maximizes the transmission efficiency in this way. So we have actually done one position paper which was published in Japan last year in the SAIS event, where we actually spoke about asset health monitoring applications, how it can be done using OPC PubSub mechanisms and FTT IIoT architecture. You can refer that in the, which is already freely available. You can refer that for more information how this can be achieved. Next slide, please. So the last one of our goal. So we have understood that how OPC UA helps us to have a vertical integrations, and why the importance of the data harmonization is important in our brownfield projects. And having a vendor specific information model helps you to have your own specific like your selling point for your devices, which can still be used using OPC UA as a common standard. We also learned about how efficiently you can transfer the data, both from improving the data quality as well as the transmission efficiency. So then the most important part is about the security. Security, if you see, it's like most talked concept, and it is tightly integrated in the OPC UA architecture. Both at the transport level as well as the application level, OPC has been involved. At the transport level, we can configure the OPC UA server to sign and encrypt the message. At the application level, we can use the certificate exchange in our previous webinars. So in this webinar, we would like to talk about the certificate management in the brownfield project within an OT network, and also how it can be transferred across the firewall to the IT network. If you see, so in this case, the security aspect, the focus is mainly on how these certificates can be distributed more effectively even in the brownfield projects. Okay, so if you look at the certificate exchange, you can have your own self-signed certificate. Definitely, it is not much safer. Instead, you should always go with the certified authority. And you can certified authority will provide you the certificate, and which can be distributed in many ways. One is you can do the manual distribution, where certificates are issued via email or some days, and then you have to install it manually. Another possible way is you can have a custom distribution mechanism, where we use the well-known public repository to receive the certificate. The third one, which is the focus of today's webinar, is on automatic certificate management using Global Discovery Server. We already know about the Global Discovery Server, which actually allows any OPC UA server to register itself in the Global Discovery Server, so that any OPC UA client can use this Global Discovery Server to get the connection information, or to get the way to connect to that particular server, which is already been registered. So this is already a concept and utility services from OPC specification itself. There are local discovery server, global discovery server, and local discovery server at multicast extension. But if we along with this global discovery server, this can also be used for the certificate management using Azure cloud systems. This is actually the work that is being done by Microsoft 2 years ago, where they used this GDS for certificate management using the Azure cloud system. For registration and for certification handling. The Edge server is connected to Azure IoT Hub. via secure connections like maybe you can say MQTT or HTTPS or AMQP. And GDS server at the edge server manages the certificate management using push or pull management. And as you can see in your IoT hub, which is there in the Microsoft Azure cloud, uses this management board, which is a web enabled applications to manage your OPC UA server and also the certificate. And then you use the OPC Twin and GDS Vault as a microservices in your Microsoft Azure platform framework to get the certificate management across the firewall to the OT network. So in this way, you will be able to manage your certificate much more securely in using Microsoft solution that they have explored. You can get more information about this from the below link in the OPC Foundation website. So I strongly suggest all of you to have a more look into this subject for better understanding on this. So with this, I have concluded my presentation on brownfield projects. Now over to Rishi to talk about greenfield perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Smita. So, as Smita has spoken about brownfield, we will be looking into the greenfield perspective now. Now, I'll be touch basing about the greenfield from the organizational perspective, and when we talk about greenfield, we will be talking not necessarily about what can be implemented today, but probably what can be implemented in 1 year down the line or 2 years down the line. So we have taken that as a time horizon, and then we are going to talk about this. So when you think about setting up something on a greenfield, so there will be certain aspirations, and one of that would be future-proofing the investment. So the other would be optimized capex and opex, and the third would be quick commissioning. So you might have multiple aspirations, but we'll be touch basing on these three elements today. Whenever we say future proofing, we are talking about enabling yourself to cater to the changing needs that might arise out of mass customization and also adopting new technologies so that your efficiencies are increased. So, and for these three aspirations, you have to set out some goals, and those goals has to be achieved. So we'll be looking at, there might be multiple goals to achieve these aspirations, but we'll be looking into three goals today. The first goal would be to have a very secure organization, and secondly, to have a modular setup, and the third would be to bring interoperability into your network. So we'll be looking at how OPC will help you to achieve these three goals so that your aspirations are met. The goal one, when you look at the security, what you see here is a typical simplified network of any factory. So you have a control layer where the elements which are responsible for sensoring and manipulation are there, and then you have a production layer, and then followed by operations. So this is where a particular product is getting manufactured. But you are no longer limited only to this network, because this network will be exposed to something out to the field, because your product is out there in the market, and we are talking about smart service, which basically for you to understand what is going on with your product and then do the necessary changes, both from the R&D point of view, engineering point of view, and also actually provide proactive service to your customers. So right from your control systems all the way to your customers, you are actually integrated now. Now these things actually brings its own challenges, and generally they will be taken care from the security point of view by adding security zones with firewalls and adding DMZs in between. And what you see here, these are the couple of places where commonly you will find the firewalls, like the firewall that gets people from outside into the network, and also having your cloud services and exposed applications to the field getting protected by the firewalls. But as we understand security, having a hole at one place should not lead you to a complete collapse. So that's where organizations started implementing security deeply, and they started adding firewalls and DMZs at multiple places. In certain zones, there could be only one level, and in certain places, the network is further segmented to have multiple zones, as you see. So having security is paramount important, but where it gets into a problem is if every system is going to talk on different protocol, if a particular system, if MES talks on WebSockets, and it requires a particular port, and if it requires a particular transport protocol to be enabled on a particular firewall, and if optimizer is speaking on a different protocol, quickly, even though you're solving security challenge at one level, you are actually getting into a much more bigger problem. Managing security becomes really, really risky because you have to constantly upgrade this. And it is not necessary that your OEM will be also upgrading as per the security threats that are emanating. So building a secure system is important, but choosing the components to build that secure system is equally important. And that decision is made simple if OPC comes into picture. Because if you choose OPC to be your predominant transport layer of data exchange between systems, since you are working with one system and OPC UA being active in implementing any security threats and or mitigating any security threats, you will be dealing with one system. That's how OPC will definitely help you. Or if you adapt OPC as much as possible in your organization, your ability to deal with threats will increase. So if I had to summarize what are the benefits of having an OPC based secure organization, first thing is the security itself becomes efficient. You are not dealing with multiple things. You don't want to become expert in each and every field there. And secondly, optimized threat management. As you can understand, if the number of protocols, if the heterogeneous systems are more, so is your workforce. So you need to have a good amount of people to deal with this, to understand it, and then manage securities at each and every layer. And the third one would be unified understanding of security. Since that majority of your network is running on a unified system such as OPC, so you will have a shared understanding. Otherwise, you have a threat to the continuity of business because only a couple of people or somebody will have a particular knowledge and a particular protocol, and you are always dependent on them. But if you have a common protocol where the knowledge is distributed across people, the continuity of business, the risk of continuity of the business is very well reduced. So this is one of the dimensions which should be looked into for adopting OPC into the greenfield projects. So the other aspect that makes sense to have a look is the modularity. Having a modular system is always essential to the changing needs, and the modularity is about having a single system, but then if subcomponents can be replaceable or it can be plugged, it is like a Lego block kind of a thing where you will just put what is required and then keep on expanding to the future needs. So in this particular use case, if you look at it, I mean, there are 3 robots and they're all connected on one or the other form of network, and it has a controller and a HMI or piece and parcel of that. And now you might be adding a path planning. So the path planning may not necessarily come. If you have chosen a modular system, the path planning could actually come from an independent software vendor. You may not necessarily have to go back to the OEM. And OEMs also can offer more interchangeable solutions because they bring trust, and customers will trust the OEM because the customer is getting an option to upgrade to whatever the customer wants. So from the OEM perspective and from the end user perspective, having a modular system is very, very important. And then probably having an alarm management system. So you keep on expanding this, and probably at one point of time, you want to add a radar inspection system. Had this solution been monolithic, it would have been very, very difficult to add so many modules as and when they become available. In terms of radar, probably you're talking about a millimeter radar or whatever the new sensor technologies that keep coming up. So the modular system will give you the ability to do that. Now it can be done on any system, but then if the data is not harmonized and if there is no common communication model, the integration becomes so difficult, and the benefits of modularity will quickly go down. So that's where OPC UA, OPC-based data exchange platform. If you have built an OPC-based data exchange platform across systems, and if these modular systems also respect that kind of data exchange, then adding and expanding your network to the changing needs will become very, very easy. So, and what enables, if there are multiple factors that enables, we'll be touch basing only on one point, which is the companion specifications, as Smita was mentioning. This becomes a very key factor where the modularity, bringing modularity into a plant is made possible by OPC. So to summarize this, first, you can actually utilize the specialty systems as and when they come into the market. You don't have to wait for the OEM, and OEMs also can provide modules which works with the other OEM hardware. So you can also run parallel inspection and advisory systems, because each sensor technology might be good for detecting a particular problem. So you can have actually multiple systems running, and they will be just integrated into your system in a modular way. And then increased ability to optimize and innovate, because it gives you the ability to actually hang on to the new systems that are made possible by new sensors. So your ability to detect, your ability to bring zero defect products, and your ability to respond to any changes in the field becomes more easier. And the third dimension which we'll be looking at is the interoperability. So if you have a couple of, in this use case, it is the same use case that we are continuing with respect to a couple of robots on the data exchange platform, and your controller and path optimizer are already there, and then you are adding an MES. Now there are multiple ways of integration. You can, if the MES is not, if it's not on OPC, you are going to write a connector, or you are going to do some custom programming, and then you can still connect with all these systems. But a truly interoperable, when you're having a truly interoperable network and systems, actually you would be spending very less time on integration, and you will be doing the actual work. So when you choose and OPC is one particular platform that enables to build an interoperable system. A true interoperable system, if you have to really validate, even if you add a robot from a new OEM, the controllers, the path optimizers, and the MES should continue to function and should continue to work with the new OEM device without having to change significantly. So this is actually made possible, on an OPC-based data exchange platform, this is made possible because everything is modeled based upon the end device. So you are actually modeling. It is an object that you are talking about its behavior, you are talking about its properties, and that is the data that is getting flowed. It is not just about raw data that is flowing across the network where people have to really do a lot of interpretation. So with these inherent strengths and with this inherent vision with which the OPC UA is being built and is being implemented with the new features in the upcoming days, a future factory is quite possible. And if you look at the tenants, and if we have to just summarize the interoperability aspect, we move from integration to interoperability. We don't spend time more on writing connectors and then testing them, but then you just integrate it and get to work. And it also provides vendor independence. So you are no longer hooked to only one single vendor. The systems can be interchanged. And even though, it is a vision where we can have a near drop-in replacements and where we might be spending very, very little time on actually doing the integration work. And finally, the true ownership of data. See, we have seen places where the systems are running in the factories, and then we go there and people ask us to take the data and integrate it with something else so that they can get better insights. But we actually look at the system, the data is not available. The data was, we're talking about brownfield systems here. The data was written into flat files, and sometimes they are getting encrypted, and the protocol is not known. So theoretically, the data lies in the premises, but actually, when you have to use it, you will never be able to use it. But having OPC implemented where the information model is known to everyone, truly you are in hold of your own data. So with these three aspects from the organizational perspective, if you're talking about a greenfield project being a smart factory, apparently you are talking about a connected factory, you're talking about having a transparent data, and you're talking about optimized network, and we are talking about agility. So as we have gone through all the 6 parts of the webinar, you might have seen that connectivity is something that would have been discussed, and how OPC with different availability of drivers can connect to multiple things, and then having an interoperability feature makes the data transparent to the organization. And with PubSub, you are actually running with the upcoming PubSub, you will be having a very optimized data on the network. And with all these things and with the modularity that it brings, you are really agile to respond to the needs, which ultimately will enable performance. So with this, before handing it over to Smita, there is one more thing that I'll get into is the OPC adoption. What I have spoken to you as I started telling, some of the pieces are available and some of them will be made available. OPC is also evolving with the technologies and with the implementation features like PubSub, and also it is getting worked with the TSN and so on and so forth. So are the devices. So the device manufacturers, the independent software vendors, and the OEMs, they're also implementing OPC. So if you look at the adaptation point of view, so if ERP, historians, MES, PLCs, SCADA, DCS, and devices which are associated with various layers, probably the graph looks like this. So there is good availability on the software side, on the upcoming, on the devices side, things are upcoming. So from our own experience in the recent past, we ourselves has implemented an MT Connect based OPC implementation for a large OEM. And then we have implemented OPC servers on gateways for another OEM. So we are seeing interest from the OEMs, and then we are actively involved in those implementations. Gauging by that kind of inquiries that we are getting, we see that the devices from various vendors will quickly become available. Probably in next 2 to 3 years, there will be more devices that will be OPC compatible. So Smita, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Rishi. So as next slide, please. So as we are at our end of our 6th webinar on OPC Inside Out, I think it would be good that I would like to highlight on the ongoing activities from the OPC Foundation perspective. So as you know, like OPC Foundation has really working on many areas to bring the OPC in its, like as Rishi sir mentioned, that OPC in the field layer, OPC in the cloud layer and everything. So there are various working group who are working on extending this OPC UA specifications to provide those features, and some are already released, and some of these works are in progress. So I strongly recommend you to have a look at the OPC Foundation website for good understanding on their strategy and vision, so that it will help you to have a better decision making. So one of the things, as we covered in our webinar, is on the PubSub module, which was a last work which was done 1.5 years back, where the publication was released. And there are already some of the products which are already using OPC PubSub module. Another one layer that I would like to bring in here is on the reverse connectivity. So this is a very interesting features where when you have to connect to any from the client to a server, then you have to open a port and then you have to make a connection. So usually it was a kind of the configuration of this was a bit difficult, and so many times the operators had an issue in configuring this OPC server to cross the firewall. So to combat that and to minimize that the challenges, OPC has come up with some features called reverse connectivity feature, which allows you to have a reverse way of connecting things, where you can hassle-freely connect it to any OPC UA server by opening the port first and then making a connection. Like there is a specific way of handling it. So this is one of the things that when you are looking into your product, I strongly suggest that you ask for the specific features, because this is the most, especially in the OPC tunneler and other field, where this is the most widely recognized problems. So in a similar way, there are a lot of work that is being done on the semantic informations and field level communications. So the semantic information is like, as you know, this was not covered in our specific webinar in detail. Like for example, whenever you are getting the data from your OPC UA server, imagine you are getting it from your robot and you want to look at some access information. So somehow you have to know the importance of that access, like how to fetch that, whether some vendor might have defined it as access and another vendor might have defined it as a motor access or something. So in this case, using the semantic ID, which uses the common data dictionary, which is an IEC specifications. So using that, you will be able to have the unique identifier, which is publicly known, which is an IEC standard. Using that, you'll be able to fetch that information. There's a lot of work that is going on in these directions from Philcom Group and OPC Foundation in this layer, where how we can bring this semantic information at the field device layer. So these and all the roadmap and strategies, having an understanding of that will actually help you to opt for a better product when you are looking at and ask for more features, which will help you in your brownfield projects. So you can get more information from your OPC Foundation website, and most of the informations you can just register yourself and download the informations, and you will have a better access if you are a corporate member. Yeah, next slide, please. So far we have, it was a very interesting journey for us. It is our last webinar in this season on OPC. So we try to cover all aspects of OPC, including the OPC in the edge, OPC in the cloud platform, OPC in the greenfield and brownfield, and many more ways. So as a Uttunga, we wanted to say these are the services that we provide from Uttunga, where we can be your OPC technology implementation partner. So we have developed embedded OPC development services for various of your customers. Our customers include the people from like the device manufacturer, chip manufacturer, where we help them to integrate OPC PubSub into their chip, which was like the very innovative work that was being projected in the last Hanover. Hannover Messe in Germany. So we also provide a lot of OPC application development for both the mobile platform as well as for the desktop applications. We have done the OPC cloud integrations. We are also have 3 engineers from our company where we are OPC accredited experts, and we are part of various OPC UA working groups, which helps us to serve our customer better. So we are the specific company where we not only we provide the technology, but also both technology and domain expertise. We understand process and factory automation domain very well, which will help you to serve you much better. We have a strong customer portfolio. Like most of the industrial leaders are our customers. We take the privilege of having them as our long-term customers since many years. Our company existence is because of the trust that our customers has it on us. And over these last 13 years of our journey, we have developed the OPC suite, which is our connectivity framework, using which we will be able to provide you the custom solutions for your OPC connectivity needs. So this helps you to reduce your overall effort in your development. We also can help you to certify your OPC product, and we can also become your center of excellence for OPC, where we can provide you the guidance and advisory on how you have to adapt your product on OPC. So we will, with our deep root in these subjects, we will be your trusted OPC technology implementation partner. Kindly contact us for any support that you would need on OPC UA. So now let's move on to question and answer sessions. Over to you, Zishan.
Request the attendees to please drop in your questions in the Q&A box. Okay, we have one question. How security is handled in OPC PubSub?
Yeah, sure. This is definitely very interesting questions. And as you see, the OPC client-server security is a little different from OPC PubSub security, because in case of OPC PubSub security, it requires the keys to be distributed across all subscriber and the publishers. So it's not point-to-point like in client-server architecture, but instead it is one-to-many or many-to-many kind of relationship. So it's altogether a different problem to solve. So in order to solve this, OPC PubSub has its own way to resolve this issue. So they have something called a key server concept, where you use the key server to get the key. For each publisher and the subscriber uses this key server to get the key. And using this key, it uses the session keys are shared between the publisher and subscribers. And these keys are managed for a particular security group. And the security group can read and write messages to that group, whoever has an access to that security group, and using which you will be able to communicate the informations between the publisher and subscriber more securely. So the connection between the publisher and the key server is again an OPC UA mechanism, which provides the security as defined in the OPC UA specifications. But in a nutshell, I want to say that OPC PubSub security has been taken very seriously, even inside in the OPC Foundation specification itself, and they have a clear defined way how this can be achieved, similar to what is being done in OPC client-server architecture. Yeah, this was actually missed in our webinar, because we thought that it was already covered in previous webinar, but thanks for asking this question.
The second question is, in a brownfield factory where there are 15 to 20 years old PLCs and other controllers, how can OPC enable data acquisition?
Yeah, so as I mentioned in our webinar, see, either you have to choose if there is a possibility of changing this PLC with a similar functionality to a OPC enabled PLC. If there is not a possibility for some specific reason, then you have to use kind of a protocol adapter to convert that particular PLC output to a common standard. Either it could be an OPC UA, otherwise you can still go with the kind of a Modbus TCP and then again use a adapter. So, but I would suggest to go with try to replace this PLC which has an OPC UA server in it. If not possible, then you can use a edge gateway which can talk to your old PLC and expose the data via OPC UA server. When I say edge gateway, it need not be a box. It can be even in your industrial PC or anything, which can be just the functionality I'm talking about here. Hope I answered this question well.
Okay. The next question is, in the near future, one of the EPC contractor is wishing to work on digital factory integration for electronic manufacturing, which involves all the system mentioned in OPC adoption slide. Is a ready data sheet that you have on the various equipments like PLCs, robots, etc., or an OPC, MES, ERP, IoT, cloud, etc.?
I think we don't have any data sheets because this is a vendor specific information, but we do have a OPC provide that as a consultation services, that how best you can do it. But having this common data sheet where what has been mentioned is not readily available, but we can more than that, we can really help you in giving you the best possible solutions and consultation on this, both from the OPC perspective and also from the from the industrial automation domain perspective. So we do have a expert on this who can help. We can talk that further.
Okay, I'll take one last question for the session today. So if I want to use unidirectional gateway diodes, does it support OPC UA? This is to achieve one-way communication from OT to IT.
Come again the question. Unidirectional
gateway diodes, in the bracket diodes, does it support OPC UA? This is to achieve one-way communication from OT to IT.
Maybe I need to look more detail into this topic. I may not be able to answer this right now.
Okay. Other question: how different MQTT is from PubSub? Which one is recommended in terms of security during OT IT integration?
If you see, MQTT is the way, MQTT is considered as a IoT protocol, but whereas the OPC, it's not that MQTT is a replacement for OPC PubSub. Instead, OPC PubSub uses MQTT or a UMQP as part of its communication. OPC PubSub is kind of a concept where it will be able to use either MQTT or AMQP for its transportation of the message. When it comes to MQTT, I can say it is just the data, but when you add the OPC to it, so you are giving more than the data. Like you are actually giving the contextual information around the data, which is very important. So definitely, if there is a possibility, I would suggest to go with OPC enabled MQTT integration. But if you are very sure that you are not going to change that particular installations for the next decade, then yes, definitely go with MQTT only as such.
Okay, thank you, Smita, for your answers. So thank you everyone for your questions and participations. There are a few questions which we will not be able to answer today due to the time constraint. We will reply back to you via email soon. So before that, before we skip into the last part, I would like to have a quick break for 30 seconds. Are you looking for OPC integration for your legacy systems? Request the attendees to please drop in your answers. So majority of people have voted for yes. They are looking forward for OPC integration in the legacy systems. So definitely, we would like to support you and evaluate and implement the right OPC fit into your products or solutions. Please reach out to us at contact@utunga.com. We'll be able to answer you. Next slide, please. Yeah. With that, we have reached the end of the webinar and also the OPC UA Insider webinar series. It is our privilege to host you and as well as share the key technical aspects and other learnings from our experts. As I mentioned earlier, we do have planned to have such more webinar sessions on more specific topics. We will surely get in touch with you. You can follow us on LinkedIn. We share all the latest information and our ongoing activities. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We upload all our past webinars and videos. Please do like and share the video with your colleagues. Thank you once again, everyone, for being part of this webinar series. Stay safe till we meet next time. Goodbye.